Joining me in the studios today to help break down the headlines and offer insight into what's making the news are Mohammed Kamara, editor for The Watch newspaper. Good morning and welcome to Front Page.
Good morning, thanks for having me. Glad to be here on the last day before the Christian holidays.
Okay, and I also have with me Chericoco, who is also a media journalist. Good morning and welcome to Front Page.
Good morning, Madam Edina, and good morning to viewers and listeners. Happy to be here.
As always, a quick reminder that the views expressed by our guests are their own and do not reflect the position of AYV. So without further ado, let's dive into today's discussion, starting with our very own AYV newspaper, which costs just 4 leones. On AYV newspaper, it reads, Chief Minister pushes for social media monetization. Sierra Leone Port and Harbour Authority denies strike, rumors confirms smooth ports operations. Sierra Leone records 201 fire outbreaks in 3 months. Those are stories on the AYV newspaper. Next is the Chericoco newspaper, which reads, growing number of women and children deported from Mauritania spurs call for migration legislation. Internal Affairs Minister ramps up crackdown on lawlessness. National Security Coordinator engages transport sector to address road safety and security concerns. Those are stories on the Chericoco newspaper. And next is the Independent Observer newspaper, which reads, as the smear campaign backfires, Technical and Higher Education Minister vindicated. Campaign government in a gari economy. Where are the roads? That's the question there. Sierra Leone reaffirms commitment to WTO multilateral trade review. Those are stories on the Independent Observer newspaper. Next is the Night's Watch newspaper, which reads, Chericoco, APC's right choice. Rodney Michael is a pillar in Sierra Leonean football. Those are stories on the Night's Watch newspaper. Next is the Global Times newspaper, which reads, Leone rock mining events, President Bio champions local value addition and infrastructure. Trade policy review, Trade Minister engages WTO DG. Those are stories on the Global Times. Next is the Premier News, which reads, fire outbreak surge with 31 fatalities. Minister Wuri vindicated as smear campaign fail. Security sector contractors to halt rice supplies as payment delays persist. Those are stories on the Premier News newspaper. Next is the Manje Times newspaper, which reads, 10,000 households in Cambia district benefit from solar. President Bio oversees over 62 million new leones community payouts and $230 million processing plants. Those are stories on the Manje Times newspaper. Next is For the People newspaper, which reads, Finance Minister debunks IMF program suspension claims. When power turns to fire, the State House blaze and Sierra Leone's electrical safety crisis. National Fire Force steps up public education to prevent fire outbreak in Sierra Leone. Those are stories on For the People newspaper. Next is the Equality Now newspaper, which reads, gains of positive mining policies. Leone Rock presents over 62 million leones to Tonkolili. FBC lecturer dragged to high courts. Air Salon expands flight operations to UK. Worrisome. Politics divides Lower Bambara chiefdom. Those are stories on the Equality Now newspaper. And finally is the Both Times newspaper, which reads, President Bio oversees over 62 billion new leones community payouts. Groundbreaking $230 million processing plant in Tonkolili. NRA signs tripartite MOU to strengthen revenue collection and tackle leakages. Sierra Leone reaffirms commitments to multilateral trade at World Trade Organization. Those are stories on the Both Times newspaper. And for the rest of the tabloids we have on today's front page. So as I said earlier on, I have with me in the studios Mohammed Kamara and Chericoco. So to start today's discussion, let's start with our very own AYV newspaper, a very trending topic, which says Sierra Leone records 201 fire outbreaks in 3 months. So let me start with you, Mohammed Kamara. You were part of the press briefing that was held on Tuesday, the Ministry of Information and Civic Education. The Sierra Leone Chief Fire Officer, Nazir Kamanda Bonge, has revealed that between January and March 2025, the fire force recorded 201 fire outbreaks nationwide. And he attributed the rise in fire cases to human negligence. So, Kamara, to what extent do you agree with this statement?
Well, I was there. Unfortunately, I was there. In fact, I'm always there at every press briefing. I made it clear. The fire outbreak at State House created a lot of rumors, commentaries, and all that, contradictory, I say. It was called upon as the fire experts to tell the nation what really took place at State House. Let me begin with that. And he said, when the switches were not switched off, the appliances were something of a substandard. They couldn't resist the fire, the light, sorry. Even the tile that was used to construct State House as a whole for decades back has some combustible substance. When it catches fire, can blow off, right? That the third floor and the second floor, fourth floor were affected. Slightly that of the office of the president and slightly that of the office of his advisor, Dr. Yom Keda. He exonerated EDSA anyway. That he told us that nationwide we have about 201 cases. Most of them, about 119 cases fire incidents took place in Freetown. The second was, of course, the south. The third was the northwest. The fourth was the east, and the last was the
northwest and eastern region.
Yes, but 6.
Yeah.
Not everybody agreed though, because all fingers were pointed at the EDSA directly. Because if we take into consideration the history back of just few months or just few days back, I used to say when I asked my question, if all the victims caused by EDSA, if all the appliances that were destroyed in the homes, offices in this country, if all those victims would have taken EDSA to court, by now would have expected that EDSA's bank account would have been empty, quite a lot of cases, right? And actually, even when the chief fire officer said it at a press conference, not everybody believed, because quite a lot of people I talked to after the press conference do believe that, of course, it was just because he was employed by the government and he has to cover up a government institution.
So what about you? Do you believe that is the cause for the fire outbreaks is due to human negligence?
As a journalist, according to the media law, media ethics, and of course the laws and rules and regulations of journalism, I'm told to take the official source as a prominence. But if I don't got my own analysis, I do agree to disagree. How Mount say, right? So I agree to disagree.
Okay, so over to you guys. To what extent would you agree with the Sierra Leone's chief fire officer saying that the reason for the numerous fire outbreaks in Freetown is due to human negligence?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think in that area I agree with him because citing coming from what Mr. Kamara is saying, because he was part of the press conference, I watched it on live for people to left their offices without switching off their electrical appliances. I think that is human fault. But the area that I disagree with him, when Mr. Kamara said that the chief fire officer, my senior Koto, Mr. Kamara Bunge, exonerated EDSA. I don't think there's any exoneration of EDSA there. Because if you go through the story or you listen very vividly from the press conference, for him to state clearly that certain cables that were used as stated, because we are talking generally about the fire incidents, because this is general statistics you give, that we're having some defective cables, and most of these places, this government ministries department, these places has been manned and connected or rectified by EDSA officers. And this, remember, these are trained professional people, and EDSA who employ trained and qualified, certified engineers who have come from either government former trade center or now called Technique under University of Saloon or at the Booksmith Hotel, we're expecting some of these professionals to be working along with ESA, and most of the time, these are the people who are working with ESA, because some people were in there on internship and they have been retained. But what is more striking and more important for ESA to understand, and ESA should act on fast, is the casual workers outweigh the permanent workers. This has been said clearly, and that is a cause for concern, and that is a cause for even security concern. Now it's the State House. One cannot rule out the State Lodge, one cannot rule out even Parliament, one cannot rule out even Connaught, one cannot rule out even other government building, because you don't know, these people are triggered people, because most of them don't believe whether they will be employed, and some of them have been on this casual work for over 2-3 years. Remember, even World Bank, when they came into this country, through their visibility study or their research or through their investigation, working along with ESA, they recommended that ESA should slash down these casual workers and retrain and employ those they fit. If you think you have project for 30 engineers, don't need to employ 100 engineers or 100 accountants. And now, quite recently, when the Oversight Committee on Energy, chaired by on the Right Honorable Kekura Vandi, summoned ESA, EGTC, and even the Energy Lead and the Deputy Minister, and experts from even Dr. Kamin Kura, also raised it quite clearly and emphasized on this. So this is the problem, that loss of casual workers outweigh the permanent workers. And that's the cause of concern, and that is what is causing this. That is what is causing this problem. We're having defective cables, improper connections, and cables are not fit for purpose, and you cannot exonerate ESA from that. If ESA can go and use certain cable where you should use, and when you say PVC,
for the numerous
of course, they are highly responsible for this defective connection, because these are the ESA workers who are working. I need to understand, at State House, you have a resident ESA engineer staff assigned there. Because initially it was my friend, now it's not a disease, Yusuf. I know that person, Yusuf. We are from both government technical. Yusuf was working there, but he has passed away, and he has been replaced by another extra staff. So and also these security staffs are at State House, because not only State House, even Ministry's Department. I remember when I was working at the American Embassy, working for Working Out, we were trained how to use a fire extinguisher, because as a security officer or a police officer, you should be trained. And also, we were trained and encouraged and advised to checkmate all electrical appliances when these officials have left their office. Because when you're manning American Embassy, or even all your locations, because all your facilities, if you're working on security, you'll be trained and equipped to know how to use a fire extinguisher, and also before taking over or handing over, you should checkmate the facility which you call compound to switch off all vertical appliances. That should also be part of some of the security officers. They should know some of this TOR. They should understand this. You should not just, because let me say, for instance, the officials who are working in this office have mistakenly, or either by intention or unavoidably, left this vertical appliances on. It is also your own duty as a security official and as a police officer working at that particular department to check, because look for what happened. The fire engulfed when some officers are not there, so you cannot exonerate ESA from that.
Okay, so we've had over 200 fire incidents in just 3 months. Who should be held accountable for this? Is it fair to just blame the public alone?
You get quite a lot of the stories too. I could best remember we were told on Tuesday that despite what the chief Fire Force officer said publicly, forensic investigations will follow in the case of State House. I could best remember. And fire incidents happens, takes place in various ways, various manners. It could not be it could be man-made, it could be candles, it could be cigarettes, it could be negligence one way or the other. So to associate it to one factor, I think you were making a big mistake, because it's a question of human behavior with quite a lot of varieties. That's why I don't want to say that it's what is this, is that. But I don't believe, from what I heard, that you get quite a lot of other human attitudes and behavior that might cause fire in homes, in offices, and all that. It doesn't all take place in Freetown, but the province is another factor.
Okay, so is Sierra Leone's fire service adequately funded and equipped to handle
Yeah,
this
it told us way
scale of
back.
fire
Yeah,
outbreak?
it said way back in 2024, President Bill was kind enough to provide them with fire engines, which they used. And in the particular case of the State House fire outbreak, as the first time that the car to call upon all the actors in and around the Western area to come, and there was a very big mobilization though. And first, you have the fire presence now in Pujo, Kaelang, Kabala, in many districts of the nation. What is left with them is fire to provide them with fire engines, of which the president has promised them to. But they say they've done a lot to decentralize fire force, and now if you can call it Kainao, somebody will respond to you. But what is left is to equip them with fire engines.
Okay, so looking at prevention and public awareness, the chief fire officer blamed human negligence, but whose responsibility is it to educate and empower the public to prevent fire? And has the fire service done enough in that regard?
To be kind enough, I think you have the disaster management office, which has done a lot, right? Period is a question of looking at it is a question of civic responsibility as well. Right, you a parent, you left your children back home. You tell them what to do to prevent them from not short incidents happening. It's a question of partly civic responsibility. When you as a citizen or non-citizen, you have to know the responsibility. Where you stay, I mean, quite a lot of factors to it, but I don't believe partly civic responsibility, partly that of government. And remember, the part of government get a lot of hurdles because you have to get the funds that are available to do a lot of sensitizations, jingles in the media and all that.
Okay, so Razok, your take on public awareness. Do you think public agencies are doing enough, to raise public awareness for us not to have, this surge in fire outbreaks in the country?
They are trying, but I think they should increase their step and beef up their strategy, especially ETSA, because, for instance, ETSA has been prompt on their press releases in any area where we have defaults or whatever light will be coming in, they will give press releases. But that is just for educated people, because most time the press release is written in English. So just to support my brother's point, I think they should now focus more vigorous sensitization, i.e. jingles in our local languages, in even the lingua franca, that's to say Creole, on this area. They should also try to restart the program ESA Hour. That is very, very important for people to understand what they should do about the prevention of light. And because what Mr. Kamara said is quite clear, you also have a lot of factors. No one is sitting here blaming ESA alone, but also we cannot sit here also lose sight of the facts. They're just blaming the public, the human error. ESA is in charge. And remember, in some of these offices, if you have some fire trouble there, with defective connection, even ESA engineers, but quite interestingly, ESA should beef up their strategy, especially the area of sensitization, online ministry. And coming to the other point, I think the fire force departments, because you have not given me that question, but I just want to throw light on it, whether they are very well equipped. Yes, my brother and my court said, indeed, the president has promised and has given some other things. I think what we should clear out is to speak the truth and also be able to understand clearly what is the problem. From my own investigation, there are lots of problems in the prevention of fire, to tackle fire incidents within this country. For instance, we used to have various hydrants. I believe every state house used to have a hydrant. I don't think the hydrant is working out properly. It's in good condition. And check, there's another hydrant, I think, hydrant at Eastern Police. But from my understanding, I think the one at Chericoco is now functioning. So remember, if you have fire incident at Dead Eastern, fire force has to source water from these hydrants, and these hydrants most of them are malfunctional. It's another case for concern. Not only the fire engine, it's another case for concern. All these hydrants in this particular location, all this area should be try to be reactivated. If people have encroached here, they should take action for prevention measure, and also ESA should try to investigate independently between themselves, to investigate some of these officials and take preventive action. Because most times, we have seen, most times, even ESA officers have lose their lives on ESA poles, on ESA cables, but no preventive action has been taken. In the military, when the military officer alone or executes an order out of the command, they will investigate you, even if you lost your life. I remember one of our cousins during the war, late Captain Barry. They have to investigate him. They put his cap for court martial. They said nobody gave him the order to apply or no. went by himself. That should also be in the case of SR engineers. Let them are aware that they are doing civic responsibility, and if they fall short for any area they connected, they fall short because there is a time frame. Even understand, I have had some vast some ideas in even construction. When you connect, even electrify certain buildings, you have a time frame when you have for the owners to believe that this building has been properly rectified, because they even do particle tests. For people start to go in there. So let that be a punitive measure. And also ESSA should try to address this issue supported by the Parliamentary Committee on Oversight, where energy, they should try to address this issue to downsize these casual workers, because this is the one problem. Some of these people, we are just taking it easy, but most of these people who are casual, who believe that they go have faith, they are there now for over 2-3 years. Remember, that's even against the law of employment.
Okay, I see, Kama, you want to add to what you were saying?
Yeah, I just want to support him with this, that I reported a case at EDSA's communication office 1 year ago. They've never taken an action. The new 3 new cables were fixed in the middle of a roof at number 1 Abla Lane, Poti. Very dangerous. They passed the cable, the roof is right in the middle, 3 cables. The roof of the upper house is right in the middle. I made a personal report to communications office. I visited them on many occasions, and up to the time I'm talking to you, they've never taken an action. I met with the managing director at a press briefing. I asked him about it. He promised to take action, and up to now I'm talking to you, they've never taken an action. As I'm saying, I said this to support what my colleague is saying about EDSA's negligence, and partly EDSA is sometimes responsible, which makes it hard to be exonerated in most of the fire accidents. I reported personally, they've never taken an action. So in case it blows off, the whole Burma will blow off. And so who will say? So that is just to support.
You are performing civil responsibility.
You see? What you say? Right, as I went there as a journalist, independent. I'm not living there. I have no relations with the people who live in there. I care for their lives. It's still there. Number 1 Abla Lane. If they can go there, they can hear me now. To see the connection, they know it was a wrong connection. They never taken action.
Also added to that, the energy team with Dr. Kanenko, I will quote him here, on the ceremony in Parliament by the Oversight Committee Energy, made it clearly that to work with World Bank, they do an investigation or a sample test about whether the meters instituted at public, private houses in particular areas, whether they are legally registered. Out of approximately 100 to 150, only 30%. And these are alleged ESA officers who fix this method. That's why I say punitive action should be taken, because most of these building houses, if you go there, you ask them, they will identify these engineers, these workers who went there to fix these meters. So ESA should do their own independent investigation now, try to address the issue. There should be punitive action, so that would be a deterrent against some of these unscrupulous elements who are causing this problem.
Let me help in that. Permit me, forgive me to help him with that. You know how they operate as an investigative journalist? One ESA boss sits at his office. He has a chain of command. He has the guys who does the work. When they get these contracts, he connects them. They could be technically unfit, but these are his own men to do the work. Afterwards, they pay. That's how it goes. In any community, if you can investigate at Leicester Road, anywhere, you don't need to go. You go to the EDSA office only one time. They'll tell you, sit where you are, somebody will come. This is how they operate. So to support what you say there.
We should also try to advise and give warning to all some of those unscrupulous citizens who have been hell-bent to destroying electric cables, destroying transformers. This is not good. Stop that, so because you are just doing bad to the mission, because you are destroying these cables just to dissolve yourself. Remember, you are living in the community. If you did something to destroy these electrical connections to the transformers, you are harming yourself. And now there's instances that if you destroy meter as avoided by the team lead, your area will suffer. So just to support my brother, it's now a civic responsibility on all of us. SO2, no open like mountain fat fruits. Anybody who see the government cable, whether na solar cable now, whether na electrical cable, as you see them, snapper inform the authority there, because this thing will go not correct. It's not correct. It even affects even the one who the official go for political reason. It's not correct, because you didn't have that area. You claim say if you say you didn't have that area, you know the support government, or you didn't have that outside if you say government supported some information operation, you feel available for that. It will help you. It was the people to contribute. Even the people who don't carry research, don't make accuracy, they don't travel outside this country, you know this.
This is why we're told to ask them for the identity cards. Yeah.
Welcome back to Front Page on AYB Television on Channel 33, and you're listening to us on Radio 11.7 FM and via mobile app. I am Edima Conte, and we are diving deeper into today's top stories. Let's continue the conversation. I still have with me Mohamed Kamara and Razwa Kouri. So let's move over to another discussion on our very own AYB newspaper, which says Sierra Leone Port and Harbour Authority denies strike rumors, confirms smooth ports operations. Let me just read an excerpt from the story. The Sierra Leone Port and Harbours Authority has officially confirmed that there will be no strike action at the Queen Elizabeth II Quay. The statement aims to put an end to the recent rumors circulating on social media and other platforms, reassuring the public that operations at the port remain fully functional. So let me start with you, Kamara. If everything is truly smooth, coming from what they say, why were there even strike rumors in the first place?
Thank you very much. I don't want to say this. I want the workers of any institution, irrespective of all that institution, to respect their own fundamental rights as humans, not to allow anybody, irrespective of his position, irrespective of his solidarity that he might get from the media, irrespective of his popularity, to, betray, to muzzle their rights. The case of ports is not an exception. It is a government institution where everything is supposed to happen there. If you feel disgruntled, if you feel dismayed, if you're not satisfied with the relationship between worker and management, you have the right. The sole fundamental right as provided by the international ILO, International Labour Organization, to strike whenever you feel. Now, there's one thing I suspect in that publication. It should have taken place. The union was manipulated and everybody gave up. This is what normally happens. But what I want to say is very clear. If they feel that their rights have been violated one way or the other, they shouldn't be afraid that they will be sacked. If the union doesn't take its own position as representatives of the worker, they can take out the rights on their own. I'm not urging them. But when rumors begin this way, it's a very big institution that consists of hundreds of workers, right? Where does it come from? Just as you say, there must have been some moves which were muzzled.
Okay, so are there underlying grievances by port workers, drawing from what you just said?
This is what I suspect. Now, there must have been some moves which were muzzled later on, and they came up to make a press statement. Look, it's very easy to know Sweden, especially when you're an investigative journalist like my colleague here. You say quite a lot of things that this is not politics. This is a question of human rights. This is a question of saving lives. This is humanity for mankind, right? You have to give the worker what he or she deserves as a worker. And it's not because of political affiliations or because of what not that you have to sit both his own right. Give him what he got and you get solid at work. That's all. If there were no moves, then why did you get so sporadically in all social media? Yeah.
Okay, so let's go over to you. What's your take on this issue? Do you think there are underlying, grievances that are being swept under the carpet? Of
course. I think that already to reveal itself. I think in port, there were rumors, some sectors, some news say there was no strike action. But there was strike action in ports. But I don't think it was port workers. We also try to understand that I think this is a PR management, PR damage management that they want to skin the truth. But the most interesting from the investigative is because I even spoke to some of the authorities, the strike took place, but it was not the workers of the ports and indirect workers. That is to say, the truck owner, the drivers who are driving these trailers, trucks, plying the ports. Also, we are also helping facilitate acceleration in ports because they are moving with goods. Remember, they transported these goods. They transport these containers. So if they two strike, indirectly will affect ports. So that's why I say this story is a PR damage management. But indeed, strike action took place there by the truck workers, but not the port workers. But also from sources within there are a lot of grievances with the worker regard condition of service, regard management strategy, with regard capacity building, with regard lack of morale. Some workers think that should be promoted, transferred, and some workers think that they have been stagnated in certain area for quite a while. Others think that even their NASIT issues are a lot of concern. And also remember that they will also to point back what World Bank and other independent institutions are saying. Lots of casuals. Most places, if you have been visiting ports or you have been going there, you understand that you have so many sectors who are working there. You have the clearing department, you have the consignee, you have the clearing for other workers, you have these, I said, truck workers, you have the what we call stevedots, you have other workers who are there. All these sectors who are yearning for betterment, and all these sectors are with so many concerns. Also, there are a lot of tension regarding political issues there concerning these sectors among them, because I need to understand there will be an election for the dock workers, so all this tension, you can expect so many other tension. But what actually happened is what I'm reporting now. Indeed, there was a strike action by the drivers, truckers. I think that issue should be addressed. They should try to address, because indirectly it affects revenue generation. That's you can roll it out. Indirectly it affects the operation of port function. But the management do not see to the fact, because they were not directly employed by port, but indirectly they are working there. Because they are moving, they are transporting out the containers, both within and inside, transporting goods. So if they strike, it would create so many other issues. And what my brother is saying here, just to support your point, there are rules and regulations as to how you channel your grievances. And most times, also this union or these bodies that are responsible for informing or advocating on behalf of their community workers, they should try to come clean and explain what they have engaged with management. Because you see this, the lack of smooth running of communication creates so many issues. Because most times, just take a case in point about the doctors, the medical workers, the medical doctors, that the strike action. The issue has already been addressed before they took the strike action, because it was lack of communication bridge. I think that should try to be. They should try to address that. They should not the port management leadership. They should try to engage all the sectors, try to do what they feel is necessary for the states.
Okay, go on.
I say thanks to my colleagues too. I just want to add there that I've been investigating ports since the days of Bloomer, Soya and all that, all the conflict. And now you're saying that inside issues which would have precipitated a strike, just as it was informing the general public, the inside issue, the administrative issues, which might have precipitated strikes, because people are dismayed over promotions, they're dismayed over poor salaries and all that. So all this makes us to fashion ourselves that actually there would have been a strike had it not been, right? But actually there would have been a justifiable strike. But I don't believe that it was muzzled, that's all. But there are many factors, but inside and outside ports might have precipitated. For example, outside it, people are saying, but that's not the responsibility of ports to fix the price of containers arriving, they say they're expensive and all that. Outside it, there is the question of which is not accountable to the state, because I've investigated that. For example, you see 198 containers to be auctioned the first Gazette, second Gazette 198 containers to be auctioned the second Gazette, and when it stays in store, right? How much of that money goes to the consolidated revenue fund? I've witnessed so many cases where in the previous government and all that, they say, hey, this has gone to the social minister and people them, the security, the person the security them. So we're wasting quite a lot of money in terms of auctioning the ports. So that money should be accountable for. And in the Ports Authority, I know, as the NRA, as the operations department that is responsible, the auctioneer and all that. There are quite a lot of issues which might have precipitated a strike, but I think thanks to the
leadership of Yakuba, because to manage the situation and try to address it. But they should not just address it.
Even if there isn't a strike today, could we be ignoring the early signs of labor unrest later?
Sure, why not? Look.
No, we should not ignore it.
We should not. I just want to remind you this. Last year, I watched the 1st of May, Workers' Day. It was so poor to me because I've witnessed quite a lot of countries in the world where Workers' Day is meant for the workers who come out and demonstrate this right and through the placards. Damn it, man. You wouldn't believe it. I didn't see a placard which condemns management. Instead, they were praising them. I didn't say it. I stood probably by Eastern Police.
They will condemn government, they will not condemn management.
I never saw a placard which condemned management. And that was the time they should have demonstrated their ill feelings, you know.
You want to secure a job.
So this means that in Sierra Leone, people fear that they will be sacked, people are dismayed, but the socio-economic constraints are with them, but you can't go nowhere. Because when it happens, when you're sacked, you don't get somebody to fight for your right. That's what was happening.
I think the Ministry of Labour and Employment, the Ministry of Transport and Aviation, and the management of ports, they should all try to come together, work in line to address unforeseen circumstances.
So is okay. When
this particular issue is a high warning sign, and it's a signal. Maybe something will be coming. Then also, not the drivers' union. Remember, these drivers, they are indirect, so as you may say, they are indirect workers within the ports. They should try to engage. The Ministry of Labour has that authority because it's under his beat. The drivers union try to engage those drivers directly, one-on-one, try to know their issues, because even within their own leadership, they have issues among their apprentices, how they treat them, how conditions. Remember, there is a law now. Whether you are an apprentice or a labor or a house servant, you should pay massive facility. Because even within the media, that law has been legislated now. If you have a reporter, you start from 3. Not only within the media, all sectors. I think that law is for all sectors. So they should also try to understand that the non-sector, the leadership of the drivers there should understand that these two have to address the condition of service of their membership. As they are channeling for condition of service to the authorities, it is also incumbent on them for them to address condition of service of their membership too.
Apart from the Minister of Labour, I think the Sierra Leone Labour Congress has lost its strings over the decades. It's not participatory in many functions, I bet you that. But it's supposed to be the supervising or monitoring body. And I don't think there are quite a lot of trade unions which have dissociated themselves from the Sierra Leone. Yeah, but excuse me, when we went to the former Minister of Internal Affairs on a conference with the Okada's Association, Okada's Union of Council, call it, they made it plain that we were with the Sierra Leone Labour Congress, we are no longer with them, and we don't want them to intervene in our constitution, elections, because we know what it did to us. So there's a problem. Yeah, Okada's. Okada. Yeah. So I think there is a conflict. There is a hidden. Yeah. There is a hidden conflict of discontent between most Labour Congress and most other institutions in this country, be it private or public.
And just to support the Labour Congress need to address the issue of even the KK.
Yeah.
They are very undemocratic. Information
I got to know that.
They have never conducted election.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up to now.
Thank you very much, Razgokuri and Mohamed Kamara, for gracing today's edition of Front Page. Well, that brings us to the end of today's edition of Front Page. A very big thank you to my guests, Mohamed Kamara and Razgokuri, and to my producer, Mohamed Ramadan Jallo, and to the rest of the technical team. You've been watching Front Page on AYB Television. I have been your presenter, Edima Conte. Many thanks for watching and listening.